Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back after the international break here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Jose Armando, my friend. If you cannot see him because you're listening to this podcast after the fact, he's wearing probably the best shirts in his time doing video here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Jose, my friend. We're jumping right into it very quickly. How are you today? And you are muted, so we cannot hear you.
There you go.
That's better.
I'm doing good. I've been my work as a sports reporter is limited these days just because I'm taking care of the wife. She's not feeling well, so guess who's taking care of her? Well, obviously me, the best care that she could find in South Florida and in the world. No, not in the world because I'm not gonna compete with my mother-in-law. But yes, I am taking care of Andrea, and I will have her ready for you guys next week. I promise.
Afisita is under the weather. I can testify to that. I heard her WhatsApp voice notes, and she's definitely not at her best. Definitely sounds a
Yes.
little under the weather, a lot under the weather. So, best wishes, speediest recovery to Andrea. We will miss her presence on this show, but Jose, I'm
I'm
sure you
here.
will help me pick up the slack plenty. So, Jose, we're gonna jump right into it. While the comments start to rain in here from our from our listeners and our viewers who are already at it, Jose. They were waiting for you
What?
on the last show, and they did not forget. Squirla says, "Where is the apology for Bright,
He shouldn't start.
Jose?"
He shouldn't start on
Thomas
Saturday. By
says,
the way,
"We didn't forget, Jose." The
he shouldn't
viewers, the
start.
listeners, they don't let up. They're relentless, man. They're relentless. They're relentless when we're late. They're
I
relentless
have
on you and your predictions.
I have bad news for you guys. David Martinez trained this week with the team. Therefore, that means that your boy Yannick Bright, he might be out of the starting lineup.
We'll talk about that. We're gonna talk about that, but yeah, we'll talk about that. We're not even gonna do it right now. 'Cause I do think, Jose, we always say that we're gonna keep it within an hour and 10. Sometimes we're really good at it. Sometimes we shoot way over if we have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to catch up on. But I do think that on this week's show, it's going to be a little more condensed. I think it's going to be tighter because there's not a whole lot to talk about. We could talk about the international break, but speaking about this game, this upcoming game, it's the regular season finale on Saturday for Inter Miami. They play the lowly New England Revolution, who are in second to last place in the Eastern Conference, eliminated from playoff contention. Inter Miami, as we know, as we talked about on the last episode with Andrea, they're the Supporter Shield champions, or the Supporter Shield winners for 2024. They are a victory away from breaking the all-time MLS single-season points record. And they can break that at home on Saturday before turning all their sights to the playoffs. Everything's lined up for them to do it, right? Like it seemed, and we haven't really touched on it because we didn't do a show immediately after this game as we entered the international break, which I enjoyed, by the way. Had some downtime. Got to decompress a little bit before this final stretch of the season/year. Didn't enjoy so much watching Peru get throttled by Brazil, but anyway, that's a story for another time. Pero Jose, it's all lined up for Inter Miami to win on Saturday and break that points record, right? After beating Toronto FC in the last second off of a Luis Suarez cross, a Leonardo Campana half volley or trap and finish. I don't know what you want to call it, but after scoring a last second or a last gasp goal to beat Toronto FC 1-0, it's Inter Miami's to take, right? They're breaking
Oh
this
yeah,
on Saturday,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should really go for it. You know, this is not that long a record because it's 2021, but it would be important in the overall landscape of Messi coming over to MLS and being an Inter Miami player. I think this is going to be a small nugget in there that once you read it and once you go through his accomplishments, this is something that's going to be important to have. So obviously, it doesn't determine whether the season is a failure or not. But now that you have it in front of you, you're playing at home against the worst team in a conference.
Second worst.
You might as well go for it.
Second worst.
Who's worse?
Chicago Fire.
Of
Yes.
course. There you go. And they hired Greg Berhalter. So
Well, there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Jose, obviously, a lot of these games, a lot of these MLS matches for Inter Miami start with the talking point of Lionel Messi. So that's where we will begin in previewing Saturday's match, which will take place at Chase Stadium in lovely Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on Saturday evening, not Saturday night. It'll finish at night, but it starts in the evening, 6 p.m. kick, not the usual 7:30s that we've been accustomed to this year. But Lionel Messi, he is fresh off of a hat trick for Argentina in World Cup qualifying against Bolivia. He also got 2 assists, direct assists, no secondary assists, MLS, but 3 goals, 2 assists, 6-0 smashing of Bolivia in World Cup qualifying. That game happened on Tuesday. 3 days rest, travel, turnaround, preparation. Does he start on Saturday for Inter Miami, given what is at stake? Look, the team's already qualified for the playoffs. They're already Supporter Shield champions or winners. Yes, they can break the points record. That would be a nice feather in your cap, absolutely. Jorge Mas, although I feel like today in the media availability that he had, he kind of said they want it, they hope it. He kind of downplayed it, but immediately after winning the Supporter Shield, he sounded very, very adamant that they needed to win it or that they should win it. So that being said, does Messi start on Saturday in your opinion?
No, I don't think he will start. I think that wouldn't be the smart thing to do. I mean, Inter Miami should be able to win against the New England without Messi. So, Campana is in pretty good form. I mean, if there's a time in the season that you could trust Campana, I think this is the time. I think he's doing really well. He went to the national team. I don't think you have to start Messi. This is, for me at least, in a scenario similar to what we saw in Toronto. I think if he's needed, then he might come on for 25 to 30 minutes in the second half. I think at this point the most important thing is the playoffs, and he needs the rest probably more than ever. He played this week, couple games as well, in international break, the travel. This is the time to give him a break.
I'm with you on this one. I do not think he starts on Saturday. I think he'll come off the bench, whether they're winning 5-0, whether they're winning 1-0. I think just to kind of give him a little run out, keep him in a rhythm, somewhat of a rhythm. Keep him somewhat in a rhythm, man. Keep him somewhat in a rhythm. You don't want him to just have, another weekend off before he plays his next game. Get him 20, 30 minutes. I think that's what Inter Miami is going to do. Also a treat for the fans, the regular season finale. So I think he does play. I don't see him staying on the bench in this one. I think he plays, but I agree with you. Don't see him starting. Now, I don't think that Inter Miami nor Tata Martino will do what they did in Toronto FC a couple of weeks ago, which is where they made wholesale changes, right? They threw out a completely different lineup. Oscar Ustari even made his debut in goal for Inter Miami's first cap or his first appearance for the South Florida side. I don't know if we see that many changes this time. I agree with you. Maybe we don't see Luis Suarez. Maybe we see Leo Campana instead. But I don't think it's going to be a complete overhaul. You touch on David Martinez. Is he ready? We don't really know yet. We've seen him out in training doing some drills, but is he match ready? Is he sharp? Is he fit? We'll maybe get some answers tomorrow on Friday when we speak to Tata Martino in the pre-game interview day before the match day -1. We will also speak to El Pistolero, Luis Suarez, the first time he's doing a pre-match interview since joining Inter Miami. He saved it for the end. I don't know. Maybe he's got some stuff to say about Uruguay or something. I don't know. It's interesting that,
Well,
that he's the one that wants to.
Yeah. The timing is rather interesting because it's gonna be hard to keep reporters away from asking him about that. But
For those not in the know, Jose, very quickly, just share some insight there.
oh well, yeah, he basically trashed Marcelo Bielsa, his style. He did talk about the way he approached players during Copa America, some things that he asked from them that he was not um, in agreement with. He also talked about some things that within the training center in the Uruguayan national team, some of the people that were used to being close with the players, they were not allowed to do that anymore. The overall story is that he didn't like the way that Marcelo Bielsa is managing some things off the field and with players and so many other people's involved in the federation. So yeah, that was a big story last week. More than the games, and I don't know if you agree with this. You might have a better output, but there were talks about the Uruguay Peru game, which Peru ends up winning with a last minute goal.
Arriba
Yeah,
Peru.
a lot of excitement for the Peruvians, but there was a lot of people also speculating about, well, están haciendo la cama to Marcelo Bielsa, because it was weird the way the goalkeeper, attacked that ball. So many other things, and then of course, the next game Uruguay ties with Ecuador. So there's a lot of talk, and it all starts with Luis Suarez going on an interview, which, by the way, I think that might have been before the TFC game, right? Was that? I think that was like the day before, which is rather interesting. But then again, things are different in MLS. But you wouldn't see an interview with a player like 24 hours before the game in a hotel. You're supposed to be, concentrated on the game and not anything else. But he was very much available for that interview, which made the rounds all over the continent, I should say, because I don't think that went all over the world.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, especially Uruguay hasn't scored a goal in I don't know how many games now, but I think they haven't won in their last 7, which
Yeah.
those are alarming stats for Uruguay with the talent they have. Even though Suarez isn't in the picture, Cavani not in the picture, it's interesting that they haven't been able to get going, especially under Bielsa, who, despite the criticism that sometimes he faces, normally his teams high octane, they get going.
And they had a good Copa America, although things were going on inside that we didn't know about. But I
I
think
don't know,
they
man.
had
I
they had
think
a good Copa.
we're getting sidetracked from Inter Miami, but I just think it's just a changing of the guard, man. I think it's just a changing of
Right.
doing things how they've been done before, where maybe Oscar Tavares, who he was Uruguay's coach for so long,
Right.
their DT, maybe a lot of his traditions, even by Diego Alonso or the like, who followed him because they're Uruguayan, maybe they kept a lot of those things in place, and where Marcelo Bielsa kind of came in and said, "All right, we're doing this my way, so we're scrapping all of these old traditions or old customs." I don't know. I can't without knowing more. It's hard to say who's in the right, who's in the wrong, but I think it's just a changing of times. I think it's just a changing of time. And for Suarez to criticize Bielsa, that's fair. It's his place. But
Yeah.
it also feels a little bit like sour grapes because he's Cavani was exiled or not called in, and it just feels like they don't feel like they're getting the exit they deserve, or they feel like things should be
Right,
still
but
be the way
Suarez
it
had his
was.
moment. Just a few weeks ago, he had his moment. That I mean, he had his time where we all knew that.
Like people don't like change, right? Jose? People don't like change, generally
Right.
speaking, and people
Yeah.
don't like change. So then if they're changing something that's been there for I don't know 2 decades, almost 3 decades, then I mean, yeah, that could ruffle some feathers. That could ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, look, it could be worse for Uruguay. Like I feel for my Venezuelan friends. This was not a good window for Venezuela, but Uruguay will be in the World Cup. There's no doubt about it, and that's probably why the players are they want change right now because they know they are in a good position to qualify, and that's something that happens. It's if you have,
Espectacular Futbol.
right.
Espectacular Futbol. What color is that? What do we call that?
I don't know. I don't know what color it
Is that the old school Dolphins aqua or teal or what do we go?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
All right,
I
all
might
right,
get
all
you
right.
one. You're an extra large order, so
Hey, I
buy
got
it.
myself some Dolphins gear recently, so I think I'm good in that
They
department.
have some good stuff. They have some really really good stuff.
Yeah, they got
And
some good gear.
yeah, I like the. Well, no, let's not get away
Yeah,
from.
yeah, we're getting sidetracked
Yes, yes.
from our football. Our football.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, Jose. All right, back to this game. Actually, let's listen to Noah Allen. Noah Allen spoke to the media on Wednesday. He was asked about this match on Saturday, what it means, how the team's approaching it. This is what Noah Allen had to say with regards to Saturday's matchup against the New England Revolution.
Yeah, I think, it's important that we focus on the point record. That's what we want. We want to get the record, but I think also, our biggest goal is to win going into the playoffs, having the confidence of getting the 3 points going into playoffs, building on, the last 2 wins that we had as well. So, yes, it's a big goal, but we also just want to get the 3 points and have confidence going into it.
So they want to win for the points record, and they want to win to keep momentum going for the playoffs. Also, probably to keep some rhythm, right? You want to not play your starters for 3 weeks together and then expect them to just fire on all cylinders come the playoffs. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be wholesale changes. I think we'll see a mixed lineup, half starters, half backups. I think Drake Callender starts. We can give our predicted lineup here in a second.
Right.
But
yeah.
Jose, who starts then if Messi doesn't start, right? So that's what we kind of left off on. If Messi's not starting, who fills in his place? Facundo Farias, we've seen him on the mend. Don't know if he's ready yet.
Eligible though? Now, I was thinking about it this morning. He has been training, but I don't know if he's eligible to come back this year, according to the rules.
The rules, Jose. Come on, man. Come on. The rules. Tata Martino has said since the beginning of the year, he's probably out for the entire year. But he's always kind of left the door open for a return. So
no, but isn't there's?
I know the rule. I know what the rule is, but
right.
MLS might be like, well, there's a certain a loophole, or there's a certain exception that can be made if this and this happens. So by the rule, he's not eligible. Based on Inter Miami's talked about him. I don't know.
Maybe, but yeah, I don't think this is the game for him though. I don't think.
All right, he's out. Who fills in for Messi?
Well, I think what we have seen before is Campana and Matias Rojas. That's what we when Suarez and Messi are not available, it's usually time to go for Campana and Matias Rojas, and I think that's the way to go this time around. I don't know if Tata might be of the idea of giving Robert Taylor minutes. He hasn't been playing a lot.
They re-signed him and then they left him on the bench.
Yeah, that is very bad news. If there's a conversation, you're an Inter Miami player, and there's even
if your agent gives you a call,
right? Yeah,
you get a phone call from your agent,
you.
and they said, "Hey, Inter Miami wants to enter negotiations to sign you to a new deal." You hang up on your agent immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately, it's not good news for you. It's just not good news. Bryce Duke can attest to it. Kamal Miller can attest to it. Robert Taylor, maybe to an extent, can attest to it.
Gregory, if we go back, Mota?
No, Mota.
Mota didn't sign an extension, right? No, Gregory for sure. I think Gregory got it all started actually.
Maybe we can name it after Gregory. We have to come up with a fancy name. The get rid of Brazilians and keep Argentines rule. Anyway, Jose. All right. I agree with you. Campana and Matias Rojas. I think it's clear that Tata has more trust in Rojas than maybe in Robert Taylor, and that he rates him a little bit higher, right? I think we agree with that. I don't know if everybody in the comment section or anybody listening or watching does, but I think that's clear that he rates Rojas better. I would think, as an overall futbolista, as an overall professional soccer player, I think Matias Rojas has a little more football in him, right? Whereas Robert Taylor is a good dribbler and he can score bangers. He can score incredible goals. But in terms of technique and technical skills, not just at shooting, because again, not taking anything away from Robert Taylor in that regard, but in terms of control, possession, being able to combine, I think in that regard, I think Matias Rojas is the better player for the style Inter Miami wants to play, which I think leads to him playing. So normally we start from back to front. I guess this time we're going from front to back because does Inter Miami go with a 4-3-3 in your opinion? Do they stick with that 5-3-2? Something else completely? Listen, I'm going to say it before you say it. They are sticking with that 5-3-2, man. They are sticking with that 5-3-2 this weekend.
Think so? That would be so disappointing.
It's going to be Rojas and Campana again. And then in the midfield, I'm going. Well, now I got to think about this. All right, you go because I actually have to think because I need to think who my 3 center backs are.
Yeah, look, what I would like to see is for them to go 4-3-3, or 4-3-3. I would rather see that, especially in the last game with no really added pressure. I would like to see that, and if that's the case, I would, as we all know, Gressel y 10 más, pero so we have to include Gressel. We know Gressel's going to play. But I happen to agree with you that without Messi and Suarez, Tata most likely would go with a 5-man backline. I would agree with that. Therefore, I don't think David Martinez is ready to play the full 90. I don't think so. And I don't think it would be wise for him to play the full 90 minutes. I think, if you give him 45, that would be great.
Or the first 45 or the second 45?
No, the second 45.
Really? I would disagree with you.
No, I would give him the second 45 minutes.
I think the first 45. You give him the first 45. You make him a pre-planned substitution at halftime, regardless of what the score is. And then you still have a half to manage things if you're losing, if you're tied, if you are putting him in the second half and he lacks sharpness and costs you a goal, then it's less time for you to get back into the game. I think he starts. That makes sense. And I think he gets 45 minutes.
That makes sense. But my problem with that is that if he starts, then you want him playing in a 4-man backline, which I assume is something that they will use in the playoffs. I think the 5-man backline is a resource out of necessity. When you have no true center backs that you can trust in a 4-man backline, because I don't think that he rates Noah Allen and Ian Frey, but he doesn't trust them fully in a 4-man backline with Toto. So.
Answer my question, Jose. Aqua Jose, Turquoise Jose, whatever you want to call you, Jose.
Let's just go through the lineup. That would be easier.
Well, we started up top. Now we're doing this.
That's not how you do a lineup.
I know, but we already. Fine. All right, Drake Callender in goal.
Yeah, Drake Callender. Then I think Chelo.
Yes.
Toto. Let's do
Boosie. Boosie starting at center back, man.
Boosie starting at center back. Let's do Boosie and David Martinez. Let's say he starts. Although I think it would be better for him to have them play in a 4-man backline. But let's put Martinez in there. Jordi. Then
there's your midfield.
Gressel, of course. Yannick Bright and
Diego Gomez.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to play Diego Gomez. See, if I'm careful with Messi, the next player that I want to be really, really careful with, because I know I'm going to need him if I'm Tata Martino, is Diego Gomez. Diego Gomez, after Messi, is the most important player for Inter Miami.
So Benjamin Kirmasi then.
So I would put Benja in because he did travel a little bit, but he'll deal with it. And then
he's not as important of a piece to where they can't put him into this game on short rest.
Right, and
they don't need to preserve Benjamin Kirmasi.
Benja, you're asking from Benja 60 minutes, right? If for some reason the game's still tied or they're losing the game, then you're bringing Diego Gomez and have him play 30 minutes. And
do you think? Because you said Jordi Alba and Boosie start, and I went with that. But do you think either of them starts?
Yes.
Obviously you said that you think they start, but do you really think they start? Do you really think any of those Cuatro Fantásticos, any of the Fantastic Four play from the start in this one? Because you could easily put out Franco Negri, you could put Noah Allen, you could put Ian Frey, you could put Sophie Kuzla. There's other options there, which again goes against my point that I think it's going to be a mixed lineup. But does Tata really want to, in the last game of the regular season, that besides the points record is all but meaningless, does he really want to risk any type of injury?
Well, the thing is that I think Boosie and Jordy might need this game because of what we were just talking about. When was the last time they played a full 90 minutes? It was just, and before the playoffs, it's going to be almost 3 weeks. So I think they need the game. I think they need some minutes in there. Obviously, Messi, he doesn't need that, and Suarez is taking too much of a risk because at this point, if you have Luis Suarez and you get an injury, you're basically out of the playoffs. So
Suarez is basically out of the playoffs.
Right. If he gets an injury, then he's in a lot of trouble. It might be the end of the season. So we're at that point. So I mean, I wouldn't take any chances. But if Jordi Alba and Boosie, I think they need to play. And if you want to have a real chance of winning the game without using Messi and Suarez, having those two guys on the field will really help you.
Yeah, again, I can see a scenario where he doesn't start them, but I agree with you in the overall lineup that you put out. I agree with that being the 11.
Yeah,
I think you need some better. I think you need some veteran leadership.
Yes.
One,
that was my point.
Two. I think you saw in that game against Toronto FC where it was a hodgepodge lineup. It was just the backups, right? And maybe you could make the argument that the backups together get a lot of reps in training as the second group when they stand through tactical, drills with the first team, maybe. But in terms of actually playing and being comfortable and actually having, repetition in scenarios that replicate an actual match, I mean, that team probably doesn't have, or that group of 11 doesn't have very many reps, right?
No.
And you can see that against Toronto FC. It was a pretty sloppy game. Inter Miami was on the cusp of ending in a 0-0 draw, a goalless tie, which would have ended any shot at the MLS points record. But they pulled a rabbit out of the hat, and they won late. You know how they gave up that late goal to NYCFC in that road game at Yankee Stadium, and they lost 2 points there. Well, they gained those 2 points back at Toronto because of the fact that Gambana scored a golazo off of a great cross from Luis Suarez, which I think is a bit underrated as well. He hit that with power, the way he wound up and measured exactly where he wanted to put it.
Yeah.
Hell of a cross,
FIFA-like.
hell of a finish. Very FIFA-like.
Very FIFA-like.
Yeah, and you know FIFA. You're a FIFA man.
I know FIFA, yes. I know the true
Hate FIFA.
video
Hate
games.
FIFA.
The proper soccer video game in the world is FIFA.
No, that's the only soccer video game, unfortunately. I hate FIFA. I used to like it back in the early 2010s, but it's more or less for the last 30 years, 25 years, been very, very poor.
When you don't win games, I get it.
No, it's not about winning games. It's just arcade. It's not realistic. All these flicks, tricks, the dancing, it's awful. EA Sports, if anybody from EA Sports is watching this or listening to this, please fix your game. Please make it more simulation. Make it more okay, we get it. You want to have an arcade mode for people that just want to have that type of mode? Fine. But give us a simulation because you're the only football game out there. So please, this is my rant. Please give us a better product in terms of simulation. Please.
And there goes our sponsor opportunity with EA Sports.
I don't think they were calling anytime soon. Anyway, back to the game on Saturday. So we've given our lineup. I think Messi plays. You're not so sure about it, but I think he plays. I will say this for Inter Miami fans listening, watching. Make sure you stay after the final whistle if you can, because Inter Miami is planning to have a celebration/ceremony with the supporter shield with you guys in the stadium. Obviously, when they celebrated with it after winning it, they were on the road, so it didn't get to really share that moment with the fans in terms of in person. So this will be an opportunity to do that before they focus on the playoffs. So stick around after the game if that's your type of thing. If you just want to get the heck out of there because it's Saturday evening and the game's ending earlier and you want to go have some mojitos on South Beach or in downtown Miami or in Brickell, Wynwood, downtown Fort Lauderdale, lo que sea, wherever, Del Rey, then by all means. But anyway, that's just a notice
Stay,
that's
people,
happening.
stay. You
It's
never
happening.
know when you're gonna get one of those again. Stay.
Jose, so Inter Miami wins, right? This is not going to be a close game. This is not going to be another nail biter like Toronto FC's finish was, where it was like you were counting the seconds, you're like it's over. Like it looked like the sand was going through the hourglass and it was about to come to an end. This is not going to be another tight affair, right? Inter Miami is going to take care of business, and they're going to take care of business in short order. ¿Sí o no? ¿Sí o no? Sácame las dudas.
Not like that. I mean, I expect them to win, but I don't expect them to win 5-0. You know, I expect them to, they have to have a comfortable lead. I guess a 2-goal lead will be fine. And they're gonna deal with players that are fighting for a contract. So I mean, this is the last opportunity for some of those guys. So
what? Look, and Tank721 in the comment section says, back to the previous point, eFootball is the way to go. Even Messi says so. Adding EA Sports is
Messi,
poop.
but
Messi is like the face of eFootball, by the way, which is
really?
Konami's game, which used to be Winning 11, which then became Pro Evolution Soccer, which is now eFootball.
I didn't know that.
I was a big gamer. I used to love playing sports games, and eFootball was my thing. But they try to emulate FIFA, and it's gone to utter, as Tank721 put there in the emoji, it's gone to utter shit. So I barely play that anymore. I barely play any soccer games anymore. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Maybe I'll have to pick up Football Manager because I miss gaming on my football. I bought Madden last week, so if anybody out there wants to play Madden, I'll play you in Madden because that's what it's come down to. I don't have any soccer games to play because everything's out there is not great by my taste.
I like FIFA Ultimate Team. I like that.
That's what the demise of FIFA was the creation of Ultimate Team. Anyway, we'll save that for an off season pod. Jose, I disagree with you. I think this is the game. I think this is the game where Inter Miami gets off to a good start and they don't look back. 2-0 lead in the first half hour, first 35 minutes. And they'll cruise to the finish line. And that point that you made, where when in MLS, when you're playing an opposing team that's eliminated from the playoffs, and they don't have anything to play for in terms of the standings, in terms of can they qualify or not, it's a talking point, and it's a real talking point that the opposing team, there's players playing for contracts, trying to make sure that they either make one last impression to stay or land somewhere else. That's true. But I also think it's overblown because by this point, coaching staff know what you're made of.
No,
coaching
but it's
staff,
not about they're not looking for contracts with the New England Revolution. They want to prove out there,
That's what I'm saying. But coaching staff know. Scouts know. It's not going to be like, oh, it's one game. That's what I think it's overblown. That's me though. That's my personal opinion. I think it's that talking point's overblown. Like it's just a talking point. Try to drum up interest in a game where there's a team that just has nothing to play for. Like I can imagine New England. I mean, could they want to spoil the party? Could they want to rain on Inter Miami's points record parade? Yes, because it is their record that they currently hold. So yes, if you want to twist the story and put that narrative there, I could see that. But I think those players, after the season they've had, they're ready to just play those 90 minutes and get the hell out of there and go enjoy their off season, starting probably on the beaches here in South Florida because the weather the last couple of days has been really nice. So I think Inter Miami wins this one easily. I think they cruise. I don't know if it's going to be a full-on blowout. I'm not going to say 5-0, 4-0, but I think Inter Miami wins comfortably, and then it'll be a party to celebrate. They set the points record. And that will be another feather in the cap for Inter Miami as an organization and for the season that they're having, the MLS season that they're having in 2024. Which leads us to this question, Jose, which I'm surprising you with, but it's a talking point. Talking point this time of year. We know they've won the Supporters Shield. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. They could set the points record all time for the regular season. Tata Martino has done a hell of a job. And we've talked about it throughout the course of the year. He's had his ups, he's had his downs. Like any coach, like any player, happens. But he's had more good moments than bad moments.
Yeah, second best coach in the league, no doubt.
That's where my question was.
Oh.
Is he the MLS Siggy Schmid, Coach of the Year in 2024, yes or no?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, I think Wilfred Nancy is still the best coach. I think Columbus, without having the firepower that Tata has, I think they have been able to build a solid team, and they continue to be a top team in the league. Even with Messi and Suarez and Busi and Jordi coming over, I think Columbus, they are a lot of fun to watch. Just like New England Revolution in 2021 was a lot of fun to watch, and that's why they got to 73 points. I think Columbus is a lot of fun to watch. I thought Cincinnati was good, but they had ups and downs. I think Columbus, they have been consistent throughout the entire season. And I know that for the MLS end of year awards, you're not supposed to take into account international competition. Well, not international competition, but the Champions Cup.
Outside competition.
Right, particularly because Leagues Cup is supposed to be international, but you can count that. So, I still believe that getting to the final of that tournament is a good accomplishment for him, and it's a testament to this team. If we look ahead in a couple of weeks, and I tell you that Columbus Crew will be playing in the conference final against Inter Miami, you're not surprised at all.
No.
Right? You're not surprised. They're one of the top teams in the league. Therefore, I think, Tata Martino has done a very good job. Yeah, mistake here and there. That 5-man backline that I don't think works. But, still, because of the players that he has, he is able to win games. And, but I don't think he's done enough as of right now to win the Coach of the Year.
Tank721 says yellow card for Island Jose. The emoji of the island is included in there.
And by the way, I don't have Messi as MVP as well. If you want to give me the second yellow.
Can we get there? Jose, goodness gracious. Jumping the gun. I said the episode's going to be short, not that short. By the way, the emoji should have been like un enfermero, like a nurse, male nurse for you, since you're taking care of our beloved Akisita Andrea. As she gets back to full health. Should have been an emoji of that. No, I'm just kidding. Jose, I listen. I don't have any problem with people voting for Wilfred Nancy. Like, I don't have any problem with voting for Tata Martino. I think it go either way.
Same.
I think those are your two front runners, right? It's funny because this time of year when voting happens, and this is more of a talking point, at least on the outside. You see media, it's very MLS. You see media from each market, not all media, but some media of each market start to kind of, I don't want to say promote. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, yeah, I've seen that as well.
They try to position the team that they cover, the head coach, the player,
right.
Whether it's MVP, whether it's Rookie of the Year, whatever the case. They kind of try to sell the notion that is the Coach of the Year. Like, I've seen Greg Vanny. Maybe he does deserve some merit, some credit for the job he's done with the LA Galaxy this year. But I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's Tata Martino or Wilfred Nancy. Again, I could see it going either way. If I had to vote, I'm giving it to Tata Martino, man. And I know that's going to go counter to my point just now, where it can sound very homerish for media of the local team to be in favor of that protagonist winning an award. But I just think, based on the regular season, which is what the award's supposed to be given for, I just think he's done a better job. And it's not just because Inter Miami's in first place. Because if that's the case, then the team that's in first place or the team that wins the Supporters Shield should get it every year. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's just about that. Because there's been other years where I've cast my vote elsewhere. But this year I would vote with a slight edge for Tata Martino over Wilfred Nancy. And that's because, one, the times that they have faced each other in the regular season, Inter Miami won both games. They won both games.
That's not a valid point.
The game that they played, and if you wanted to, which I don't, because again, I'm just talking regular season. But if you wanted to talk about that Leagues Cup match where they played each other, they faced off, and Inter Miami got eliminated, who had the better first half? Who did we say had the better
Yeah, but
first half?
that's not a valid point. It's not a head-to-head situation.
Correct.
They are the top two contenders.
Let me
That
finish.
doesn't mean you have to compare when they faced each other.
But let me finish. But I'm just fully representing my argument, making the whole. Estoy redondeando mi argumento. If you want to throw in that Leagues Cup match, Tata Martino had the better first half. And then things came apart for a 10, 15-minute stretch in the second half. But Inter Miami was the better team in terms of with the ball for much of that match. Or at least in terms of the game plan, maybe not with the ball. Now, of course, it's not head-to-head, right? Head-to-head doesn't determine awards. I'm just giving you kind of a comparison. The job he did in the summer, without Messi around, because he was away to Copa America, without Luis Suarez, who was away to Copa America, then without Lionel Messi even longer because of the injury. He reinvented the team, moved pieces around, and had them still firing on all cylinders. And in a league where you need those difference makers up top, where you need your designated players, your star players to be available to be competitive on a weekly basis, it's tough to win without those pieces in a league like MLS where the roster structure is not balanced, right? Where the money goes to the star players in the attack, not so much on the defense. And then when you have to tap into your depth, it's very difficult to maintain a consistent winning streak or a winning run or a good run of form. And yet, in the summer, Tata Martino was able to accomplish that. And I think that speaks massively of the job he's done this year. He has pushed the right buttons. He's found the right balance of players. Maybe from a stylistic standpoint, we have not been enamored. Maybe Inter Miami fans have not, fallen in love with how some of these results came in the summertime without Messi. But they got it done. And at some point, the results do speak for themselves. Like at some point, it's not just about, style points. It's also about winning games. That's what the course of the season says. And Tata Martino, yes, he has 4 of the best players in the league. And yes, they've won games because of those players. But there's also been a good stretch where they needed Tata Martino to push the right buttons and guide the ship where it was on him to win a lot of games or find ways to win these games. And he did just that. So for me, I give it to Tata Martino. Slight edge over Wilfred Nancy. But again, I could see it going either way. I actually think Wilfred Nancy will win it. I think Wilfred Nancy will win it. But
I don't think he'll win it.
Really?
I voted for Wilfred Nancy, but I think Tata Martino will get it. Yeah, I mean, I think, Wilfred Nancy had his moment with the media, with the players and everybody, and people feel like, okay, you got your acknowledgement, and yes, you're good, but it is so tight between the two guys. It is so close that I think in the end Tata Martino will get it. My thing is that, I agree 100% with what you're saying, except for the head-to-head situation. But I just think Wilfred Nancy, he doesn't have the same resources that Tata has.
Sure, he's done maybe more with less over the course of the year. But at one point this year, Tata Martino had to figure it out without his star 2 attackers who have produced, I don't know the percentage right here, but if we did the math, they've produced a high percentage of the amount of goals that Inter Miami have scored this year, right? So he had to also, at some point, without those 2 key pieces, do a lot more or do more with less than what he normally has, which, again, I think speaks volumes. Like, did Wilfred Nancy, while he has more than he has less than Tata, generally speaking, were his best players around on a consistent basis this year? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So he had his best players available to him on a regular basis. Now, are they at the level of Messi and Suarez? No, I'm not even coming close to saying that. But in a league like MLS, again, where the money is invested into the attackers, where you've seen countless times, just countless examples over the past 2 decades or a decade and a half, however you want to look at it, where when the team loses its DP or 2 DPs, it struggles to function. El funcionamiento baja, pero por completo. With Inter Miami, that did not happen. It did not really happen. Maybe they weren't as free flowing and as aesthetically pleasing. Maybe it wasn't as fun to watch, but they still got it done, man. They still got it done. And I give that to Tata. That's for me. That for me. Again, it's going to go. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a tight one. I imagine when they show the final results, I think it'll be a tight poll. I think it'll be a tight race. Again, I think Wilfred Nancy wins it, but Tata Martino gets my vote.
Yeah.
Jose, that's pretty much almost the end of the show, but we have to hear, as Tank 721 says here, I have to hear why it's not Messi before the trompeta sound, because that means it's almost Chacal time to kick you out with your second yellow. Jose, why is Messi not the MLS MVP? Look, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but in your opinion, why is it not Messi, and who do you give it to?
I voted for Boanga. I think Boanga is my MVP. I think I really like him as a player. You know, I think he's one of the top players in the league, no doubt. So Boanga, he was pretty much involved in every single scenario that LAFC was successful or not. He was there for the team, 100%. I don't remember exactly the stats, but I went and looked at them. I think he did start 93% of the games. He was involved in 50% of the goals of the team. And there was another stat that I can't remember right now that was very telling about Boanga. And when I compare that to Messi, it was completely different. Messi was available like 43% of the time. And yes, I get the argument that whenever he was on the field, he was effective and he changed most of the games for Inter Miami. I get it. But he was not available for even half of the season. For me, an MVP is a player that is available for the entire year. The MVP is the most valuable player. Is the most valuable player in the season. In the season, not in the toughest stretch of the year, not in the beginning, not in the end, not in the middle. It's the best player overall for the entire year, the regular season. Therefore, for me, Messi gets into the conversation. I'm not going to say he's not going to get into the conversation, but it's tough for me to put him ahead of Cucho and to put him ahead of Boanga.
So, thanks. We're laughing. For the people that listen to the pod, don't watch the pod,
Yeah.
but hear this after the fact, we're laughing as opposed to giving a spiel because Tank 721 says, Boanga, with a lot of questions and exclamation points, yellow cards, red cards, trumpet,
five yellow
emoji.
cards. Oh, and 5 red cards. Very good. Very good. Thanks.
A lot of trumpets for El Chacal, so fuera.
Yes.
The Island Jose emoji, and then there's like a doctor emoji. So there you go. You got everything there. Got everything. I don't agree with you that it's Boanga. I agree with you that it's not Messi. I agree with you that it's not Messi. See, and now, again, I'm not here to posture.
So you would give it to Cucho then. There's not a lot of choices after him, after those two.
I mean, there could be a case made for Evander.
Lucho?
There could be a Lucho Acosta. There's other people, other players that deserve honorable mention. But this is really going to come down to Messi and Cucho Hernandez.
And Cucho, right.
Which I don't know why. I mean, Island Jose is Island Jose. You know, if you guys think it's just like his nickname that I've given him and it's just for the show's purposes or whatever you want, no, like he's Island Jose because he's Island Jose across the board. Like Island Jose said at the beginning of the year that he thinks, you know, he wouldn't be surprised if Messi retired at the end of this season. And Messi's already talking about how he has many years left to play. So Island Jose is literally Island Jose. He is literally Island Jose. Like it's not just a persona; it's literally who he is as a person and as a member of the media. It's who he is. I swear to you,
I'm right sometimes. You must admit, sometimes I'm right.
So very rarely, very rarely. But speaking of the MVP, I don't think it's Messi. I think it's Cucho Hernandez. I agree with you, and I know probably get comments on YouTube. We're gonna get comments here. We're gonna get comments after the fact on Twitter, the YouTube video once this goes on
I don't
to
see
YouTube.
any. I don't see any red cards here. I don't see any red cards in the comments.
Actually,
Come on.
there's a red card right here. There's a red card.
There you
Thanks,
go.
someone gave me a
There
red
you
card. And some more trumpets. I agree with you that I think MVP has to be around for a good portion of the season. And Messi was not around enough for me to warrant the vote. So I give it to Cucho Hernandez, who had 32, I think, goal contributions, which count secondary assists, unfortunately, in MLS. But he that's just, a way to show that he was very impactful for a Columbus Crew team that was very, very good this year. They weren't Inter Miami good, at least in the regular season, but they were very good. So while I don't give the coach of the year to a Columbus Crew member, I do give the MVP to a member of the Columbus Crew. Look, if Messi had been around for 3/4 of the season, he'd been available for 3/4 of the season, hands down, I think he would have won it, or I would have given him my vote.
And he would have had,
He would have. It would have
incredible
been
numbers.
exactly, and it would have been.
Right.
He would have won it by a landslide, right? Like, however, look, if I didn't tell you what I think he wins it, man.
I agree. Yes, I agree. I think he'll get it.
I'm not vote. I wouldn't vote for him. I'm not
But
saying he
I'm
should
not-
win,
You're
but I
right,
do think
yes.
he does win.
Yeah, I
No.
also think he'll get it. But I
Okay.
wouldn't be comfortable going to bed thinking, okay, I vote for him just because I covered
Tu
him. just because
conciencia would
it's
not
Messi.
allow that, Jose.
No.
Tu conciencia would not. Tu conciencia
No.
would come out of that aqua shirt and
Right.
say, "No, Jose, you cannot vote for
No.
Lionel Messi." Your conscience would eat at you. But look, this is my question to you then. Does Messi win because he's going to get enough of? Because this is not just media votes. There's media votes. There's player votes. There's MLS staff league-wide votes. So Jose, is it going to be because Messi wins through just sheer voting, or and this is conspiracy theory time? Put on your hat, because MLS will fudge the numbers up just to say that Messi wins it. Because listen, man, MLS is shameless. Let's not kid
Right,
anybody.
yes,
Let's not kid
yes.
ourselves. MLS is shameless, and they need to milk that Messi cow as much as they can before he potentially leaves.
Well,
in
this is-
a year and a half.
Yes, I've thought about that. And I'm very cautious about it. And that's why I was very, very, very responsible with my voting. Because once I was selected to vote, I immediately posted my choices. Because I want to set the record straight that I did not vote for him. And the reasons why I already told you. So I think I did what's fair for Messi, because I didn't give him an award, or at least a vote to get an award that I don't think he deserves just because he's Messi. If he gets it, and MLS doesn't publish the exact percentage of votes that he got from players, from coaches, and
You
from
do it
the
every year,
media,
though.
I'm gonna be suspicious. Voting has now closed. I think so. Yeah, or it's about to close in the next few days. But if they don't publish the percentages, I'm
They
gonna be
always publish the
suspicious.
percentages, though. They always do.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if they don't,
But why wouldn't they?
because if they do, and somehow
Fudge
everybody
the numbers.
does,
They could fudge. How would we know otherwise? How
Well,
would we know?
if they put the numbers out there and they tell me nobody voted for Buwanga, then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be, hey, I voted for Buwanga. So something's wrong with that. All right. So, if somehow Messi gets 90% of the votes and people come out saying, hey, no, I didn't vote for Messi, then, there's a valid argument there. So, again, they have done it before. They need to do it again more than ever, so that we don't go on with our conspiracy theories thinking that Messi won it just because it's Messi.
They could still
Because we know
fudge the
it's
numbers,
very likable.
man.
Yeah,
They
it
still
could happen.
They could still fudge the numbers. They could still
Yes.
I fully expect Messi to win. Fully expect Messi to win. I wouldn't vote for him. I was saying I would. I am voting for him. I told you where my vote goes, but I think Messi wins it, man. I think there's just too much for MLS riding on Messi and the image and the talking point and being.
And I think they would announce
imagine
it.
the headlines. Imagine the headlines.
Right.
Cucho Hernandez wins the MLS MVP over Messi, right? Like not necessarily in the MLS circles or in the United States and Canada, but think about like worldwide, where people would say they'd be like, "Oh, that league's a joke. How could somebody that people abroad aren't really paying attention to MLS like that, but they'll have their opinion and say, how could Messi not be voted the best player? It's clear he's the best player. No one in MLS. So Messi's going to win this thing. Messi's going to win this thing.
Look.
One way or the other, Messi's going to win this thing. I have a question for you though.
Yes.
What do you? Because this is talking point. This question is posed in other sports, other of the American professional sports. What is the MVP to you? Is it the best player in terms of the level he's played at over the course of the year? Or is it the player that is most valuable to his team, that without him, the team would not do as well? Because people see it. People, vote it based on which criteria they think it meets. The definition is. For me, it's the first.
Combination.
For me, it's the first. For me, it's the first. The second one doesn't factor in. For me, it's who had the absolute best season in terms of production, in terms of performances. That's to me what MVP is. MVP is not if you took this piece out of the team, then the team wouldn't function. Like that's not MVP to me.
Yeah, no, but I think you also have to lead your team to be successful. I mean, for me, the MVP should go to a player that plays in a good team. That's why I didn't vote for Benteke. I think Benteke is the top scorer, and that's it. But he couldn't lead his team, to the top of the standings for whatever reason. It was obviously this United is not one of the top teams. He didn't have the right teammates around him. So many factors that we know. But I think the MVP should and belongs to a player in a top team, and that's why I didn't consider Benteke. So I think it's a combination of both. Yeah.
All right. So that does it then for what we've got to talk about on this week's show. For the most part, your boy David Ruiz suffered an injury on international duty. I believe it's a hamstring.
Right.
Inter Miami gave a Baptist Health injury report regarding his status, but said absolutely nothing in it, as we are used to. So no clear idea as to when he will be available again, if he'll be available in the playoffs. Or
it should have been 5 to 7 days after this information, by the way. Information, not opinion.
Información, infórmanos, Jose.
Yes. 5 to 7 days. He was.
Okay.
He should have been at 5 to 7 days, and this happened last week, so it's gonna be tight. Yeah, it's gonna be tight.
Tight for what? For the playoffs or tight for this game?
No, for this game. But he should be fine for the playoffs.
Okay. Jose, anything else you want to touch on? Anything else you care to wrap your head around? Final thought, or are we leaving it there?
Well, are we doing our predictions show next week? Or when are we doing that?
I don't know if we're gonna have enough time because next week is the playoff game on a
Because
Friday.
we kind of have to do that because I was very close to Luis Suarez. I said 20 goals. So I want my credit. I do want my credit.
First, we have to offer an apology to all our listeners for saying that Yannick Bright was not
What?
as good as he is.
No, I mean he's a good player, but he shouldn't start in this team.
I think
The
he's gonna
last
start.
2 games
Jose,
because he started.
Jose, he's starting in the
didn't
playoffs.
perform.
I think he's starting in the playoffs.
He's
man.
not starting in the playoffs.
Jose,
There's no way he starts in the
Tato
playoffs.
Martino does not stop raving about him. Does not stop.
Yes,
Does not
but Tata Martino knows that to win championships he needs Boosie, not Yannick Bright. I mean, come on. Yannick Bright will have a chance.
I'm not saying that Boosie's coming out of the team, though. I'm not saying Boosie's coming out of the team. I just think that there's a way that Tata's going to find a way.
Well, they will
Right.
struggle. They will struggle. Against Columbus, they will struggle.
Just
I'll
like
tell
Inter
you that.
Miami was going to finish in 3rd or 4th place in the Eastern Conference. They had no chance at the Supporter Shield. Right, Jose? Right? Okay.
Did I say that? That
yes,
was my
you did.
prediction?
Yes.
I doubt it. I think that was... Oh, no, my prediction was even worse for... You know what I'm rooting for? I'm rooting for a Portland Timbers Inter Miami final. That's what I'm rooting for.
Phil Neville back in South
Yes,
Florida.
yes.
I thought about that the
Yes.
other day because we didn't see that game this year. And I don't know if next year Portland plays here or Inter Miami plays at Portland. But I've been like that Phil Neville matchup. It would make for interesting stories for sure.
I would rather have. Well, my first choice would be Portland. My second choice would be LAFC to have Giroud and Lloris against Messi one more time. That'll be fun to watch.
Okay. All
And
right.
Buanga, my MVP.
No mention
Take
of
it,
Carlos. No mention of Carlos Vela, who Bob Bradley famously said needed to be LAFC's Messi at one point. Anyway, all right. We will leave it there. We went a little bit over an hour, but not close to 110. So we will be back next week. I'm going to guess probably Tuesday or Wednesday before the playoff game at home on Friday. So we will be back next week. I promise it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll let you know as soon as we can. Once we get the schedule mapped out, once we know availability, once we know whether Jose has Miami Dolphins or Miami Heat duty, or if he's still
Miami Heat home opener is next Wednesday, I think.
They are. Oh, there you go. So it's got to be Tuesday, hopefully. But you might still be on enfermero duty, so...
No, that is over. I'm doing such a wonderful job. I'm getting so much praise from everybody that she's going to be ready for Saturday night. There you go. My promise to this podcast.
There's the Baptist Health Report brought to you by Island Jose. All right.
More like Leon Medical Center report, please.
Well, everybody, give us a like, a subscribe, a thumbs up, a review on Google or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen or watch the pod. For everyone that tuned in live and shared their comments in the comments section, thank you always. We will be back again next week. So for Jose Armando, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening to and watching Miami Total Football Radio. We will talk to you guys again next week.